it. All right, dude, let's do this, man. I'm excited to have you on finally. Why don't we give you a little introduction about yourself, and we're gonna just roll from there. We got some stuff to cover.
Sure. I'm Ryan Magana. I was in the Marine Corps Infantry, and then I did some executive protection, and now I'm doing some other things. And I've known you for 19 years.
At least.
Oh, God.
Our wives are our wives are childhood best friends.
Yeah.
So they both married Marines, which
all of the stories about Bam are true.
Yeah. There's different versions. But it's all pretty much true. But yeah, man, we met at one of the birthday parties, and you just gotten back from deployment, like hours. I feel like it was just a couple of days when I first met you, and it was a long time ago. You were fucked up back then, which we'll get into, and I get why now. I didn't know what unit you were with then, but now, I mean, that was pretty much like a historical thing now in the Marine Corps. I mean, but okay, so you grew up in.
So I was born in Texas, and then I was raised in California. So I'm a mutt of everything.
Okay, so you're not true California, which is all right. All right. No, but so grew up in California, and obviously there's a military, a lot of big Marine presence there in the military, or in California, and they're everywhere. We infest that entire state. So
yeah, it started with me when I was, I don't know, yay high, and I went to my cousin Brian's graduation in Marine Corps boot camp over in San Diego, and ever since then, at an early age, like I don't know, second, third grade, I was like, I'm gonna be a Marine. That's it. I like screw all the other branches. I'm going to the Marine Corps. It doesn't matter what I'm doing in life. Like I didn't even care about high school or anything like that. I was like, I don't need to be that smart to be in the infantry. So I was a shit turd.
Come on in, son. We got a spot for you.
Yeah, and growing up in the mentality, I was like, what can I do to get there faster in a way? So I joined a program called the Young Marines. I was basically in Marine Corps ROTC, and I specifically was like, I'm going to be on a Marine Corps base in ROTC. So I was going every week in high school to Camp Pendleton.
I got to ask, were you that kid that wore like the Marine Corps backpack to high school?
I didn't have the backpack, but I had the high and tight.
Were you knife handing kids?
No. I holstered it.
You're talking to a future United States Marine.
No, I knew the difference, and the haircut was enough that people were like, what's wrong with this guy? But then all my teachers were like, oh yeah, that guy's going to the military for sure, 100%. Retarded, eating crayons.
Perfect.
I mean, I took language arts three times. I went to night school to pass language arts, bro. I mean, I was in I didn't really care. I was in special math classes and stuff, but I mean, looking back at it now, I was like, you're an idiot.
Right.
I tell my kids, you're going to school and you're going to do way better than I ever did.
You're not going in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So you were set right out the gate then, and it never changed?
Never changed. I did everything. I mean, my first job, civilian job as a kid, I worked in a surplus store.
Really?
And I got all my hands on, ammo boxes, everything. Nice. I learned everything. And I mean, I was even reading the old school, Army training manuals on, when there's no people come in. I was like, what's land navigation? Or I was looking at claymore mines. I was like, that's fucking cool.
Point toward enemy. You're like, I'll remember that one. That's hilarious. What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 06.
06. Yeah. And then, so where were we at? I mean, war kicked off 03-ish. So yeah, I mean, that was still fresh. And you went straight to the Marine. I mean, were you already papers signed? So how long after you graduated did you?
A month.
Damn, dude, you were set. You were just get me out of here.
I signed up at 17. I turned 18 in boot camp.
How was that? Did anybody bake you a cake?
So, I mean, I've got stories on stories from boot camp. But so going through the ROTC program, I had a mentor of mine. It was retired Sergeant Major Harkins. And this guy was like a Vietnam vet.
Oh, God.
And the stories I got from this guy are just off the wall. I mean, he was a drill instructor back in the day, too, when there was Quonset huts and dirt roads and shit there. So some of the stories he told me, he did to me without me knowing when I was in boot camp. Okay. So some of my drill instructors knew me because I was doing stuff on the depot too, as in ROTC.
Oh.
Yeah. So I went to
that could go either way.
Yeah.
That could go either way.
When I first got there, they're like, oh, you're not going to be a squad leader. Let somebody else do that. And I was like, what? I wanted a leadership position, but yeah, I mean, I went through a small drill instructor school there and stuff like that. I was hardcore moto.
I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
This. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great program for kids, but I get there like one day, and this is well into training, and the senior drill instructor was like, "Hey, you need to come with me to see the first sergeant." Like, if you're in boot camp, like nobody sees the first sergeant. Like, I didn't even know there was a first sergeant.
Even as a young troop, you don't even see the first sergeant.
No, so done. Like I get like not walked, but we run down Recruit Highway in San Diego, like past all the barracks. I'm like, where am I going? I didn't even know like there was a company office.
Longest walk of your life.
Had no idea, but I mean, there it is, and there's a box, about this big, holding the first sergeant's door open on the ground. And my name's on it.
No.
And I was like, that's weird, like, uh-oh.
Oh, no.
So then he's like, get in here, Recruit Magana. And I was like, okay, all right. So I opened the door and kind of slammed on the box again. And he goes, you want to know why? He's like, I want to know why this box with your name on it is propping my door open. I was like, I have no idea.
No clue.
This recruit does not know.
This recruit does not, no idea.
No idea. Well, it was filled with chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, no. This is from your...
Yeah. So to backtrack, when he was a drill instructor, he caught one of his recruits stealing cookies. Because like back then, the recruits used to serve recruits back in like the Vietnam days.
Yeah.
And like it got to the point where they would take away the silverware from the recruits because they were afraid that they were going to attack the drill instructors. Like that's how bad it was back then.
I believe it. 100%.
But he caught this kid stealing cookies. So back then they would get a bucket and a canteen cup. That was part of their like recruit issue.
Yeah.
And so he told the kid, "Hey, go fill up your bucket with water and come back up like on the quarterdeck." And he made him. He took a whole tray of cookies and made him bite a cookie and drink some water. Bite a cookie, drink some water. And then he's like, by the time he got like halfway done, the recruit had to puke. He's like, "Well, you drink some water and bite a cookie." And you can't do it on the floor, so he did it into his bucket and had to keep going.
So he's puking in the bucket.
Nuts. God, wild, dude.
Drill instructors are some of the most sadistic, and for every drill instructor watching, y'all are just probably like, yeah. They're all like agree. They're
but, like refrigerator mechanics are like so hardcore.
Knowing what your motor T, you motherfucker. This dude just hazed us, like made our life hell. But they are the most sadistic, creative human beings on the planet of the games.
Oh yeah.
And I was getting hazed one time on the quarterdeck, and the drill instructor walked out of his hut, took his campaign cover off, and like, you remember the 007?
Oh yeah.
Asian dude that just threw and he whips this thing, and it chops me in the top of my head. And I swear it had a steel frame because it hurt so bad, and it fell in front of me.
Oh man.
And he's like, sweating it, bitch, see what happens. So I'm like leaning over this his cover, and he's got a note on the inside, and it was like 0530, wake up the hose. 06, slay the hose. 07, like walk the hose to chow. And I was sitting there reading this. I'm like, we're getting hazed regardless. It's in his schedule. Like, doesn't matter what we do. This dude had it planned out to the minute of when he was just going to mess with us.
Yeah, there's a requirement of like what they have to teach, and then the fill time.
The fill time is just game.
It's just game on. It's like when you went to the rifle range super early, and you're like, why am I here so early? But you're getting hazed at the barrel for no reason. Yeah, it's exactly why.
Get to the range 5 hours early.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, one of the worst times I ever got my ass chewed was on the rifle range, and it was in the dark, and this guy must have had MVGs or something. Like, I'm just like freezing, and I got my hands in my pockets. And this guy comes rappelling out of the fog, down on Pendleton. It's just fog all the time, early in the morning, certain time of the year. This dude, I swear to God, I got heloed in just to chew my ass. He's like, "You fucking cold Marine." My hands in my pocket. I was like, "Yes." I'm freezing.
How did you know?
Like, I'm out here. That just triggered. But I answered him like, "You fucking cold?" Yeah. I'm standing out here in the fog, like 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I'm freezing, bro. Like, yes. And then, bro, it just, until the sun came up, I could hardly even shoot that day. I just got hazed so bad. But yeah, dude, boot camp and the drill instructors are interesting human beings.
It was wild. I mean, going in from like ROTC, I knew what the kind of people they were, but like being there and being the crew is different, It was just wild. I mean, I got held back in boot camp too. I don't know if you know that.
How devastated were you?
Dude, I didn't even know I got sick.
Okay.
I had pneumonia, and I didn't even know until we're doing the like 8-hour movement, 2-hour fight, like McMap thing is like a whole course in the sand. Mm-hmm. And we get to this like push-up portion. I do one push-up, and I can't get back up. Like I fall down, I can't get back up, and I just puke, dude. Like this giant, like loogie-looking thing comes out of me like a fucking alien, and I'm like, dude, what is that? You know? But I was so weak, like like I just worked out all day, and I couldn't lift a single weight. That's what I felt like, and I just felt drained. I stopped sweating, and my drill instructor ran right over. He pulled me to the side, and he like looked at me like I was dead, dude. Like, and this fucking guy carried me on his back. That is, dude, what a bitch move, bro. Like, I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move. This guy picked me up, put me on his back, took me straight to the aid station. And, dude, there's a story within a story here. But come to find out, I had pneumonia really bad, and I got held back.
Damn. How close were you to graduating?
I was like a month and a half in, dude. I felt pretty shitty.
That sucks. Yeah.
And then going to the sick company or sick platoon or whatever it was is like, you feel like a bitch, especially like you look around and you're like, I'm sick in bed, like puking my brains out. Like put a little trash can next to me, and I'm just looking around like, dude, some of these kids were there for like a year.
Could you imagine? Bro, that's hell. That is absolute hell.
I can't imagine. So I was still sick, and I like cheated the test. They had to go in front of like a medical board and do like a bunch of push-ups. So what I did is I went behind the building because we had to wait in line because we're recruits. Yeah. I went behind the building. I stuck my finger down my throat, and I made myself puke before I went in.
Oh my god!
Because I was like, I am no longer. So I was there for like about a month. Like but I was that fucked up from pneumonia. Like I couldn't get out of bed or anything.
What's crazy? I bet your parents had no idea that their son's like on his deathbed at boot camp. They're like, I wonder what's taking so long. Like you should have graduated.
You should ask my wife what I look like when I graduated. Dude, I look like excuse the reference, but like a Holocaust ref. You know,
oh, dude.
You can see my ribs and stuff. It was bad. Like because I completely cheated to get back into another platoon. And it worked. I mean, they made me like run in place and do all this crazy shit in front of like 3 or 4 doctors, and and
you're just dying the whole time.
I'm dying, dude. I'm dying, and they're like, "Oh, he did good, pass," you know. And then like within a day or so, I got moved to a new company, but it took about like 3-4 weeks to get to that point. It was wild.
I didn't know this.
Yeah,
this is hilarious. So then, after boot camp, you joined as an 03, right? Like that was your contract. So you were going grunt all the way.
All the way.
All the way.
Yeah.
So you get out and you go straight to SOI, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So SOI is up in
Pendleton, over with
Horno.
The old it's off of Barcelona.
Yeah. So
right before Horno.
What's that? So you're okay. To paint a picture, I could only imagine. This is 06. So dudes have already come back from deployment. Some of your instructors are probably some war fighters.
Yeah.
And then you get attached right in the SOI, which is where grunts become grunts, pretty much, right? Oh, yeah. And what was that? I mean, was that worse? I mean, the culture shock and the hazing and just being a boot Marine at SOI, I mean, how was that? Or was it worse in the fleet?
The 2 different kinds of worse. Yeah. When I first got there, my first like oh shit was I'm not going to be an infantry guy because they lined us all up in one massive formation. Mm-hmm. You know, however many dudes, it was like 150 recruits that graduated and went there now, and they're like, from here over you're going to LAV, like from here over you're going here, because they had way too many guys. I don't know if like the numbers in the Marine Corps low, and like they went put their arm down and they're like, from here over you're going this way, and I was like, I made it. Like I'm still going to be in the 03 side.
No.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. Like they were just chopping this massive formation, and they're like, hey, you guys. Core. Yeah, or there was like camp guard, you know. I was like, thank God, dude. I didn't want to be one of those turds and get held back even longer, right?
Nope.
So I made that chop, and I did the basic infantry stuff, and then you start dividing into your MOSs. And
mortarmen, riflemen, heavy machine guns.
Right, your specialties. And me going into the Marine Corps, I always wanted to be a machine gunner. Okay. Like that was like, I'm going to spray
heavy
and pray.
Or 240, like what?
Yeah, so you had the 240, the Mark, and the 50. Those were our babies. So we're doing like this. Everyone's in an amphitheater, and they're like, who wants to do this? Who wants to do that? And it gets down to machine guns, and there's only like a few dudes are like, yeah, I want to do that. And it's usually like the biggest guys, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I wasn't one of the biggest guys at the time because I was sick from boot camp. So,
and I had no time to recover. You just right into another.
No, it was like maybe 2 weeks we had of leave, and then we had to go straight to the School of Infantry. So I go over to the sergeant who was in charge of machine guns, and he goes, "No." Just straight up. I was like, I was like, "No, I'm gonna be a machine gunner. Like, whatever you say, like, I'll do it. I'm gonna be a machine." He goes, "Go shave your fucking head." Dude, I don't know how fast I ran to that little PX in Porno. Yep. I bicked it. Everyone's still in amplitude. I ran out of there. I went UA for 30 minutes or whatever. I bicked my head, looked like a straight illegal, come across the border Mexican. And he goes like, "Holy shit, like you're in." Like,
bro, you were like,
"How'd you pull that off,
dude?
You have no idea."
I'm like, "Nah, I'm not no way. I'm like cutting my hair for this."
But I didn't want anybody telling me no. Yeah. I was like, "I'm gonna do this." So as time goes on, I was in the machine gun section, going through the School of Infantry, and I was just waiting for my time to step out, and the squad leader of it got fired. I forget what happened. He did something stupid, and he was like, "You're fired," and I was like, "I'll take his spot." Just like, what a dude.
We would not have got along in the Marine Corps.
No, dude,
we would have not have got along.
I was like, I want my shot, and he's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So he put me in, and that day we were doing a Mark 19 range, but to go to the range, you had to hike up this fucking mountain behind
with your weapons,
with the mark on our back. And dude, that thing's
44 pounds or something, or 60 pounds. What is? I can't remember.
It's some heavy black metal, bro.
Yeah, and there's no, because being an Amtracker, we 50 and the 40 were our babies, and I mean anywhere you carry, there's nothing you can roll that 40 on your back or the 50, and it's ever comfortable.
No. And it's got the dual handles, so no matter which way you put it, it's gonna hurt, you know. And then it just sucks. And then you're with the gear that you have in the School of Infantry is from 100 dudes ago,
Yeah.
Piss stained canteens and stuff. But so we're going on this hike, and the marks, you keep the guns up front because they're the heaviest things, and they start falling back. So what I did is I grabbed one, ran it to the front, gave it to somebody, did it again and again and again until we. Dude, I was Indian running.
You're a motivator, bro.
Bro, it was stupid, stupid. And we get to the top, and all the dudes, the squad, the whole section was like, that was cool. Yeah, that was legit. And then the sergeant pulled me aside, and he goes, "I didn't know you had it in you." Yeah. He's like, "Keep it up," and I did. I just kept that kind of motivated momentum through the whole thing. The next 2 months I was there. And I ended up being the honor grad.
Good for you, dude. That's rad.
Yeah. So I because I was an ROTC, I got private first class PFC in boot camp, and I was an honor platoon. I wasn't honor grad, but I was honor platoon.
You would have hated me. You would have hated me.
So then I got honor grad out of School of Infantry and became a lance corporal going to the
You're
fleet.
A lance corporal hitting the fleet,
bro.
In 06.
I thought I was high and mighty.
Oh yeah, you did.
And
you checked real quick when you got some salt dog ass lance corporal.
Oh yeah, you got that swag.
2 deployment lance corporal, and you were coming in as an honor grad. Yeah, I'm sure that went over well.
What a douche. And so we got our orders. It's orders day, and I was like, man, I can't wait to go to Camp Pendleton. I know this place like the back of my hand from ROTC. I get my orders, and it says 29 Palms, and I was like
the worst.
What?
That place, there's something in what's 29 Palms?
Yeah, what is that? Where is this? And you couldn't pull out your phone back then and Google this shit. Yeah. I had to ask around, hey, where is this exactly? I know it's in California, but where? Yeah. And it's everyone's it's in the middle of nowhere. You're going to the desert.
That place is, how would you even describe to a civilian what 29 Palms is? I'm sure there's people that are listed that or live there and they love it, but it is like putting a military base on the surface of the moon. There's nothing out there.
Yeah.
You have to drive. Palm Springs is the closest thing, and that's 2 hours-ish?
About, yeah. I mean, if you're going from LA to Palm Springs and you get to that stretch right between the Indian casino in Palm Springs, and you're like, wow, there's nothing fucking out here.
Yeah.
Like that's 29 Palms.
Yes.
But worse.
Oh God. They're in our workups. We were doing our workups out, and we were doing the whole Lavik Lake, live fire maneuver, all that crap. Someone got the bright idea to turn loose like half the battalion of like all of like the grunts, LAR, LAVs, everything, right? Everybody's out operating, like getting ready. Besides, because all the supply and everybody's obviously on main side. They gave us the bright idea after being there for like 2 weeks. They were going to give us a day off in the middle of this training and let us go to main side. We ended up getting, I want to say 23 guys got NJP'd that day from our platoon alone. We ended up getting in a giant fight with LAR because it was just at the bowling alley. Yeah. Dudes were filling their camel packs up with bottles with handles of wild turkey and Jim Beam and had their camel pack and just bowl it in the court. I mean, the whole thing, that's what you just drink, you fuck,
that's it.
And you fight.
Yeah, there's nothing out there.
I think there's more adultery and divorces because everybody, we were getting guys shipped to us from 29 Palms because all these guys were deployed and these guys were working like hazmat and just running through dudes' wives, and they had death threats put out on them. So they were shipping them all down the Pendleton from 29 Palms. 29 Palms was a wild place.
When I got there and before then too. Nowadays, I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen it now, but I mean, it looks like main side Camp Pendleton now. It's nice.
Yeah.
But
so you got orders at 29 Palms.
Dude. And so I'm like, all right, so you graduate, and then it's like 2 or 3 days later out of the School of Infantry, you jump on a bus.
Oh yeah.
And you're shipped out
with your bag of belongings.
You're your seat bag dragging, you're in your alphas the whole way, bro. The whole way
on a shitty bus.
Yeah. And the worst part is they didn't go around Pendleton. They drove through Pendleton to get to that 215. Yeah. So you're like, oh, this is nice, and then you just watch life get browner and browner and browner. You're leaving the nice green country,
beautiful Fallbrook, avocado trees everywhere. That as you just go farther away, it just becomes straight.
It's so bad there that there's not even fast food restaurants.
No, there was nothing out there. Nothing. So you get to your unit and you're some motivated Lance Corporal,
dude. So I get there, right?
Who'd you get orders to?
1-7.
Okay.
1-7, and I check in and there's nobody there.
They're all deployed, or
they're back at Pendleton on a rifle range.
Oh, okay.
So I get there and I was like, oh, the fleet's great. They got my room. Some staff sergeant doesn't know me. He's really nice. I was like, oh, this is great.
The Marine Corps is awesome.
Yeah, the Marine Corps is awesome. I just wake up early and check in, and that was it. And then I don't know, a week later,
all hell breaks loose.
These guys were told hey, your boots are there.
So they were waiting.
So they went on a deployment. Range. And then they go straight to a range right when they get back from leave, and then they're like,
because everybody has the qual, and that is what drove me nuts about the Marine Corps. Right. You mean to tell me I just spent 8+ months overseas hooking and jabbing, and now because I'm not going to be able to get promoted, I have to qualify on the range before I can go home on leave to see my family from coming back from war. That is the most typical Marine Corps shit you'll ever hear.
Oh yeah, and dude, there's a lot of reasons why I got out.
But
so they finally get there, and it's just you see those Instagram reels of drill instructors yelling.
Yeah, it's slow motion.
It was like that, but it was all senior lance corporals with the star above their chevron, or corporals and sergeants that just hated life, dude. And these guys were just some invasion vets, and
you're getting a little bit of everything.
Everybody's kind of mixed in right now. And it was just all hell broke loose. I mean, you're getting Lance Corporals who had stacks, bro.
I know this. I've been there. Yes.
And I was just
you get humbled really quick. The Marine Corps becomes unfun really fast.
Oh yeah. I mean, you thought you were cool. Mm-hmm. I thought I did really well in boot camp and at School of Infantry and becoming an honor grad. Dude, they're oh, you're a Lance Corporal, straight in the flag. I got my shit pushed in, bro.
Oh, I could imagine.
There was times where I was hiding underneath my sink in the bathroom because my barracks was the first barracks facing Lake Bandini as you drive in, the old ones.
Lake Bandini was the shit lake, right?
Yeah, the shit lake, and dude, Like, you flush your toilet, goes to Bandini, and it blows back in your berthing because you can smell it. And it's like 130 degrees out there. It's miserable. But those doors, you could, like, kick in. They didn't lock.
Oh, yeah.
Just kick them
in for generations.
Yeah, generations. So, like, dude, there was times, like, after like, hazing of work all day, I would hide underneath my sink. Like, I got hazed so much, like, I literally, because I would leave, come back home. Because I lived in Orange County every weekend. So there was times I was like, fuck this. I would pack up my SIF gear, my supply stuff, leave it on my rack, and be like, I'm never coming back. I'm not doing it. Like,
I know exactly. I've lived this.
Yeah.
I've been on both receiving ends
and giving. It's like your turn. You're like, it's on, motherfucker.
And that's why it's so bad, because it's like, now it's my turn.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you've gone through.
I've seen guys, they got like taped between mattresses and thrown off the fucking second deck. And people yelling incoming, and you're like,
there's a body inside two mattresses.
Yeah, you see fingertips coming out. Like, or a shitty high and tight, like. And it's like,
oh my God,
it was just bad. But like, it got to a point of hazing, and I didn't get this kind of hazing, but like people getting charged, not just NJP, but like put in jail for shit that was going on.
Were you out there? Because there was some pretty gay shit that went down in 29 Palms, and a bunch of Marines got fried for it.
Yeah, dude, they shoved
broom handles and stuff. We didn't even get it. Yeah, but I mean, fuck, we'll talk about it anyway. Yeah, so I remember all this.
Yeah.
That was your unit?
That was at the time. Yeah, that happened while I was there. Like, it was bad, bro. I mean, they put this kid's fucking head in a microwave, duct taped it, and pushed it down the stairs to use it as like a helmet. Like, it was just wild stuff going on. And like, here's little like
ever.
Like Lance Corporal, honor grad. I'm like,
you're all perfect,
dude.
All right, guys, let's make a difference,
dude.
Did you show up and just get completely destroyed?
But at the same time, all that was going on, like the dudes that were my seniors, complete douchebags. But they taught me everything I needed to know. I mean,
100%.
They pushed it into my head so hard. Like, when I became time to lead, like, I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, for sure.
I get it.
But you were getting taught by warfighters that were in the invasion, MOPS. So same when we got picked up as boots, our whole entire battalion was deployed. So that when we got to the fleet, we're like, I was calling buddies like, yo, join the Marine, because there was like U.S. shows on the beach every night. Yeah. Like, there's a new celebrity giving a concert, Ted Nugent. This is the greatest thing, dude. If you just party, there's like, and so all the guys were all short timers or broke dicks that were in the battalion, so nobody messed with you. So it was the greatest time. And then Bravo Company came back, and it was like it's that song. It's like da 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 da, like like people are running with like sword, bro. And we were all like these salty lance corporals because we'd been in the fleet for like 5 months and thought we knew everything and were allowed to run amok. And man, we ended up, our seniors were so bad to us. It was so bad. They ended up, when we got back from that deployment, they sat us down and were like, hey, we're sorry. Like, we had a lot going because they got completely wrecked over there. And then they came right back, and they had a full platoon full of belligerent piece of shit boots, us. And they ended up apologizing. It was that bad. And it's like, now it's just, I couldn't even imagine what goes on these days.
I've gotten a couple apologies back to me, and one of them was pretty significant. And like, I look back at the times that guy like fucked me up.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I even told him when I saw him again. I got back from Afghanistan when I saw him, and I was like, I get like half of it was for your own amusement, but half of it you were trying to teach me something, and that was the only way that you knew how, because your seniors did it to you. And
but how tight was your unit?
Dude, like, we were so tight.
Dude, I would almost I don't even know how I would describe our unit, because we were hazed so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it was so bad. I mean, it never ended.
Yeah.
What's crazy is the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, I think Sergeant Major Black's still the Marine Corps
at the time?
No, now.
Oh, now?
He's the acting. He might have.
I don't even know. I don't pay attention to that stuff.
I don't either, but that's the last I heard. He was our company guns, and he was like the dude that invented hazing. He was He was evil. He was born out of Lucifer's asshole and put in our platoon just to teach everybody what hazing was, and that it never died. And now this dude's running the fucking Marine Corps, which is wild to me anyways. It's just how bad it was. I mean, you can't even describe it, but it made us so tight as a platoon. Dude, we would anybody that talked any shit on Echo Comp, you were getting rolled. Like, It was bad, but we didn't notice it then.
No, we had
secret knocks.
Yeah.
We had secret knocks because you'd just be chilling in your room playing like video games and shit. You had like 2 minutes by yourself and somebody knocking, you'd open it, and bro, you're just getting snatched out of your room and you're on a working party for the next like 3 days and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, it's a Saturday or you got duty, let's go. So we like invented secret knocks. I mean, we would all go to like certain rooms and like tape up blinds. Like, I mean, just
there's all kinds of stuff that we would do. Like I hide underneath the sink. Like,
yeah, I get it, bro.
It was wild, you know. But
it made us who we are, though.
Oh yeah. I mean, dude, I got my ass beat, dude. There was this one like corporal or sergeant. I mean, this guy was a stone cold killer. I mean, he even left 1-7 to go help out in Afghanistan, and then came back to us. Like, this guy was like lost it.
Yeah.
I mean, he beat the shit out of me one night in front of the barracks. Just he was like on like wild turkey or something, and I showed up, and he was like, "You're the one. Come here."
Yep.
You know, but like going back, like that was one of the dudes that taught me some of the things that like I take with me even today. You know, like, just like wow.
I mean, how many times did you just get beat up and you didn't even know what it was for?
Oh, dude, like
on the regular.
Just,
like 3 dudes just run in your room, beat the fuck out of you, and you'd just be like,
my Camelback was full. Like,
like back to video games, like
ow. Or like,
they kicked me in my ear. Like, God, it was just insane. I mean, insane. So you get to the unit, all hell. I mean, just life is hell.
Yeah.
For how long was that like that?
Until we deployed, really.
And where'd you guys deploy to?
We went to Iraq.
Where at?
And was where'd we go? Just outside of Hit.
No shit. So we took over Hit from the Army.
Okay.
So
I took over. Were we on the same deployment? Didn't know.
I would deploy with 2-1 and 2-4.
Oh, okay. So we transitioned with the Army also.
Okay.
Which was like looking back at it, I'm like, dude, like it was wild. Like at the time, I was like, oh, this seems legit, I guess. But you know, as a new guy and you're like first time to Iraq, but like going back and like, whoa, like the Army didn't know what they were doing.
What year was this?
It was 2007.
Oh no. Okay. So we did the same thing. So we got the call one day and they're like, hey, we're going to go take over Hit. It's this small town. So we were taking over the train station, not Hit the town. So there was the train station just on the outside.
Yeah.
But they ended up building a base inside the town of Hit. But anyways, we were ripping with the Army. And they're like, dude, Army's getting fucked up every day. Like, they're losing dudes. Like, they're going to bring us in and we're going to just do what Marines have to do. And they're like, all right, you guys are going to go and rip with the Army. We're like, all right, cool. Or we show up in the middle of the night, and I'm the LT's driver. And he's like, all right, pull over here. And I pull up, and I'm like looking, and I like pull my MVGs out. And I look, and all these vehicles, all these Humvees are staged, and they're all running, and they're all full. There's dudes on the guns, and everything. Every seat was full. And I mean, dude, the whole main, there was a main road that ran alongside of the train station building, and it was the whole Army. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? All the vehicles were running. Lieutenant goes over and he's talking to their lieutenant. I think that's who obviously he was talking to, and they're talking back and forth for like 10 minutes, and he comes back and the lieutenant just goes around, gets in the A driver position, and they start rolling. And my lieutenant climbs back up the side of the tank, you know, puts his column helmet. I'm like, yo, what's up? And he's like, they're leaving. And I'm like, what? I'm like looking at him like, what do you mean they're leaving? He's like, yeah, they said good luck, like it's all yours, have at it. And that was our rip with the Army. They literally met us in the middle. Like, there was nobody on a post.
Jesus.
They had every vehicle staged, running, all loaded. And the second we rolled into the train station, they were like, all yours. And they just dipped. And so like the next morning, we didn't have like a radio. We didn't know anything about anything. We're just like trying to put pieces together right outside of the train station and hit. And it was even as a troop, like, you know, that deployment, I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that.
I don't think this is how it's supposed to go. And it was interesting.
I remember when I first got to Iraq, and that smell, you smell that smell for the first time in your life, and you're like, oh, well, this is real. You know, like I would assume it would be like going to Vietnam and smelling that for the first time.
Yep.
Anyways, we get all our gear. We raid Al-Assad, you know, at night.
Good old Al-Assad.
Oh yeah, and you go and you're like you're busting locks and getting everything you need, because you're not getting it when you first get there. You got to like steal from the Army. Yeah, acquire. Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt. We broke through this Army supply center at Al-Assad over by the flight line.
Yeah.
We were in Camp City, or what'd they call it? The tent city.
We were in the same place. It was like Camp Red or something like that. I don't know.
But you had to take the little buses to the good chow halls and all that shit. Anyways, where we were by flight line, the Army had this huge compound, like their supply, and we had some downed vehicles. And so one night we were working on them, and we got the bolt cutters and cut through the fence, and they had those black fleece jackets.
Yeah, the buffalo jackets.
Dude, we were hucking cases over the fence. Every single dude in my platoon got a fleece, and it was the greatest thing ever.
That's money, dude. That's
lifesavers,
like
bro.
Oh yeah,
it was it was freezing over there.
I still have one. It's like 4 ties too small now, but
yeah, mine melted.
Like, I went through hell to get this. I'm keeping it.
We're all like, because we had the safety, the little pliers that you pull and they twist the safety wire.
Yeah,
and we were closing the fence back up, so every time we'd go back, we'd recut the wire and open it, and seal it back up. We just went in there and raised it.
I remember our seniors are like, go do this, but if you get caught, we don't know who you are.
Yep. If you get caught, it's your ass.
Oh yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. But I mean, we came back with everything we needed. And anyway, so we're on our first patrol, leaving Al Assad to go to our FOB.
Okay.
And our route was down uranium.
Oh my! That uranium. There's uranium, bronze, mobile.
Yeah. And
those are the major 3, I think. Uranium, I haven't heard that in forever.
We were told, like, hey, this is the most dangerous road in all of Iraq right now. Like, it's like IEDs are growing naturally. So we're about to leave Al-Assad, and I was truck 4, and I was driving. And the gunner starts kicking me, and he's like, hey, you need to pull over. I'm like, what? What do you mean? And he's like, pull over. There's an MP behind us. And like, flashing his lights. I was like, what the fuck? So I pull over. This fucking MP, Army MP goes, you know why it pulled you over? I was like, bro, I'm about to go on a combat patrol and not come back for months. Like, what do you want? And he goes, like, well, you ran a stop sign. I'm in Iraq, my first deployment, my first patrol out, and I get pulled over by an Army MP saying I ran a stop sign. We all just started laughing.
On Al-Assad?
On Al-Assad.
I 100% believe it.
Oh, and I was just like, this is not what I pictured war would be, getting pulled over.
No.
So we just kind of laughed, and he couldn't, like,
you're like, cool, dude.
He couldn't man up, right? So we just closed the door and left.
Yeah.
So we leave, and we load up, and I don't remember how far we went out, and then we get to uranium. And, like, in my mind, I was like, oh, it's a road, you know? And, dude, the road was, like, 2 inches wide at some points because it's been blown up so many times. I was like, what? Are we doing here, you know? And then, you know,
it goes forever.
Miles.
I used to fall asleep all the time. I would
forever.
My whole tank off, and there was always a ditch for some reason. I'd fall. Was there ever random kids just walking in the middle of nowhere?
Oh yeah.
Where do they come from?
I don't know, dude. It's like the Hills Have Eyes, like
we
Iraq
would drive
version.
for days and not see, and there'd just be a child out there walking, like, and we drive by like water. We throw water bottles to them, like, shit, like throwing weird.
It was
that
wild.
road went on forever.
Right. And
forever.
And so even like whether you're a veteran or not, coming to that deployment, like it's your first patrol, so everyone's like, you know, butthole plaque, you know, is super tight. So what that patrol could have been like a few hours long, right? Just drive straight line, get the fob, turn left, go inside.
Yep.
It turned out to be like 6 to 8 hours.
Oh, always.
Of
IED.
Everything's an IED
gotta
at
search
that
it.
point.
IED,
Everything.
Stop, call an EOD. That takes friggin' a half the day.
Nonstop. And then like get air on station for air cover at these points, and then like, and it was like,
I remember these days.
It was miserable, and like, it got to a point where we had to switch drivers. So finally, like, I'm back up in the gun, you know, and I'm like, just sweating balls off because like the Humvee only has heat for some reason, you know, and you can't open the windows because if you blow up and it goes through the gap, like you're dead, you know. So it's just
you're sitting in an oven all day, which would take a normal drive an hour to an hour and a half, but it takes anything in the military, and it's an all day movement.
It was an ungodly event
every time.
But
I always thought, like, why don't we just drive through the fucking desert?
Yeah,
I'm in a tank. Why can't we just go 100 yards out there?
Right.
But this is gonna take us 12 hours.
Like in land nav, you know, you're supposed to do a 90-degree offset. Like, why don't I just do that and cut half the time? Like, no,
we're gonna take the hard ball and we're gonna call in every 100 yards. There's an IED. Like, and then it gets to the point where you're like, fuck it, just drive over the thing. Like, somebody just go. Like, just get
wear your seatbelt, put your earplugs in, it'll be fine.
You drive by the whole.
Like the manufacturer said this thing can take a hit, so
like we got blast mats, we're good. We're not soft shells anymore.
Yeah. Oh, you remember sitting on those things with blast masks?
Horrible, like, bro. Horrible.
Those would never do anything. Like,
nothing.
At the time, you're like, I'm so safe. It's like Kevlar underwear. Like,
all it was.
No,
you put on the floor of your
it's just so
vehicle.
you can find all your pieces in one. But we get to this fob, dude, and I'm like, this is it. This is where I'm going to be for months. And there's like 3 Humvees in there and like a handful of soldiers just like shirts off, chilling. Nobody in a post. The ECP, there was nobody in the control point.
You just rolled right in.
We just drove in. I don't even like. I mean, we could have radioed. I don't know. I wasn't on the radio, but we just drove in that motherfucker. And I was like, what is going on?
This is such an Army thing.
Dude, so, like, they show us around, like, the circle. Like, you know, this is where everyone could sleep, and this is that, and blah, blah. So then we start doing, like, left seat, right seat, in, like, a week of turnover. It turned out these guys would drive out to, like, the local towns that we were in and just find a high point and sit up there for hours. They would just drive and just watch the town and then go back to the fob and chill.
That was it.
They didn't have any local engagement. Nobody, because nothing at the time was really truly going on there. Okay. So they would they would go out with one truck and like 4 dudes and just chill in the middle of Iraq. And I'm just like,
that's kind of sketch,
dude. Right? I mean, like, not even just sketch, but like wrong. Like just so wrong.
We rolled up on. There was one night we got stuck on this stupid post on Bronze or one of the major roads, but because there was a bend in the highway, like you could see for like 100 miles, and there was like a bend.
Yeah.
And that's where they were planting the IEDs because we can see everywhere. So one night we see these lights down there. Mm-hmm. It's in our AO. You know everything that's going on in your AO,
yeah.
Who's in it, who's not,
yeah.
You know. And we see lights, and there's some cars down there. We're like, oh, fuck, they're planting an IED. So, like, we roll, and we mob up to them, and we come up on this hill. We're locked and loaded. We're just going to murk these dudes down in this little draw.
Yeah.
And as, like, my team and I, we all come over to, like, just if back then it's like, dude, if you're holding a shovel, you're considered hostile.
Oh, yeah.
Digging was hostile. Military age male, doing all 3. Like, we're like, here we go.
Yeah.
There's fucking 2 Army Humvees, and one of them was overheating, and we're like, what are you? And they had no idea we were there, and we scared the shit out of them. We're like, what are you guys doing? Like, who are you?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we're with the whatever Army unit. And they're like, yeah, we're just rolling through. We're like, you have no idea how close y'all just came. Like, you're lucky we came over here instead of just call in air or something.
Yeah.
And they have no idea. They're like, oh, you guys are out here? We're like, dude, just wild.
All of my Army encounters have been just
crazy.
Wild.
Crazy,
just
right?
Wild. They're good dudes, but they just like lack like everything. Leadership, training, just an understanding of like they're in a war zone and
direction.
Not. Yeah. It's like, dude, this isn't Georgia, bro. Like, you're
we won't get into the Army story. I mean, maybe we should.
There's great soldiers. Don't get me wrong. They do great things, but my encounters, what I've seen,
same. Yeah. So was that deployment pretty chill then? Because it was pretty winding down in that area.
There was some things going on. Like, I mean, I got shot at for the first time in my life over there.
Yeah.
Completely pissed myself.
Did you?
Oh yeah, dude. I got shot at by a Dishka.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Explain what a Dishka is.
It's like their version of 50 cal. So I mean, it's just a little bit bigger. It's meant for anti-air, but and I don't even think these guys were intentionally shooting at us. So we're providing security at a wedding for a sheikh, actually.
Really?
It's super like, I don't know why. Local leader engagement, helping the populace, but
that's Marine security.
Oh yeah, dude. So I'm at like an L-shaped cordon, right? I'm at the top of the cordon, and my truck is facing the river. Mm-hmm. And
you're along the Euphrates?
Yeah, along the Euphrates River. And across the river, I don't know, about like 200-300 yards to my right, I see this technical, this pickup truck with this thing like spinning in the back, just going to town. I'm like, what is that? And it stops. And it like swings around and takes like 4 good bursts. And then just drives away. And like, I look down, I'm like, dude, I pissed myself. Like 100% like. I remember my vehicle commander punching me in the leg. Boom, boom. He's like, what are you doing? I was like,
what do I do?
What do I do? Like, yeah. But I was like,
hilarious.
it was just wild. You see this guy just spinning in circles, like, like they like unlocked it on the dude, and he just couldn't control
it. Yeah, he's got the momentum of the truck. It's just spinning him in the back.
But when it stopped, and it was just like it just locked, and I was like, oh shit, you know. But like at the time, I just was like, what is that?
Oh, for sure. There's so many times we're like, I wonder what that is.
That wasn't on the range in 29 Palms. What is that? You know,
I've been shown that before.
Yeah. We had a lot of encounters with the Iraqi police.
Oh, yeah.
And what was crazy, they had this one dude.
Sketch.
I can't remember the guy's name. It was like Bakalakadaka or whatever. You know? But this guy had like his boots were bloused. The boots were polished. Like he had a military. This guy looked like a killer, right? And come to find out, he's like, yeah. And he's like, I was a sniper in the Mujahideen. He's like, the Iraqi police pay better. And I was just like, what?
That's how it all is over there.
What? Like this dude's killed Americans, but now he's a police officer,
For sure.
and getting paid better. So he's like happy with Americans now.
Whoever pays.
And that's kind of what we were. I mean, we would take pop shots. There were some IEDs. There was a IED with a chlorine tank, but we were downwind, thank God.
No shit. That's what
or
they were
upwind, I should say. Yeah.
They were getting creative back then.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of that going on. But yeah, this just IP guy was just like, and he'd carry around a Dragunov. Like, dude, that thing's taken.
Isn't it weird? And it kind of messes with your psyche if you really think about it. That like we had to work with dudes that were straight just American Marines and soldiers, and then all of a sudden one day they're like, "Oh, hey, we're cool. I love America," because we're trying to get a visa to come here or some shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they always look at you. You can always tell when you look.
Like you could tell, like out of a lineup,
sure.
like that's the bad guy.
Oh, if you lined up 100, you can go through and point everyone.
Oh yeah,
out
100%.
They can't fake how much they hate us, and you're just like, and you're always like, man, that fucking guy right there, he is again. And everybody watches the one dude, so you don't get shot in the back.
So you remember that bridge in Hit that went across the river?
Yes, to the factory.
So
we found a suicide, bro. You must have relieved us. Then.
Bro, I was on post. So at the battalion,
so the bridge had the railroad track or the caboose to the train.
So.
Was it still there?
I think.
So there was a caboose.
All I know is I saw that bridge disappear.
Oh, you guys blew it up?
No, they blew it up. So like something in Mooj or whoever it was, they drove a V-bit out there and blew it up. But it was just wild because I got sent to the battalion to do like FOB security there because I got in trouble.
Where was your guys' base at?
Where was it? I can't remember the names of them now, but it was way out there, outside of Hit, like way
was
north.
It Barwana? We were in Barwana.
No, I was past the train station. We were like the last company in a row.
That's hilarious, dude.
Yeah,
that is wild.
So I get to the post, and I think been there for like a week.
Okay.
And I just kind of did one of these, like I put my arms on the 240 and just kind of like looked out. I'm just like, this sucks, right? And I got my MRE of shit, and like I'm gonna be out here for hours. So I leaned out, looked to the right, and just boom, gone. Bridge went up. I mean, it was one of the biggest mushroom clouds I've ever seen up until that point. And I was like, oh my God, like there's Marines. We had a FOB right on the other side of the bridge. There was the only FOB with 1-7 at the time that had Marines on the other side. So I call it in. Immediately, I think I was like the first dude, like, hey, the bridge got blown up. And they're like, all hell broke loose over there. And the Marines were cut off. There was no way to get them.
On the other side.
They were trapped on the other side. So they were trapped there for like 2 weeks before they could figure out how to get the bridge repaired enough to start logistics and everything again. But I mean, they blew that bridge completely in half, gone.
Damn.
It was wild. Yeah, and it was one V-bit. I think it had to be like 2,500 pounds of explosives. I mean, the hole in the bridge, when I finally saw pictures, was probably like 30, 40 foot diameter, completely gone. Yeah. I mean, the locals would walk across it all day, and it killed a lot of locals over there. I mean, it was wild.
I won't tell that story, but yeah, dude, that bridge was wild. I know exactly the bridge you were talking about. So you come back from that deployment, and then you get attached to...
No, I'm still with 1-7. I went again to Iraq. So I did 2 deployments to Iraq.
You did 2 to Iraq.
Yeah. And this one was a little more kinetic, not quite to what Afghanistan will ever be. But my platoon, because I was CAT, Combined Anti-Armor Team, we got put into, I think it's called EPRT. It's like Embedded Provincial Reconstruction Team.
Okay.
So our job was like bodyguards, essentially, of these high GS 1000 dudes who would drive around with bags of cash.
Yep.
And we'd pay the local government to rebuild Iraq. It was actually kind of a cool mission, some of the things that we got to see and do. But by doing that, these guys had a huge
What'd you get to see and do?
I mean, the engagements that I was the only platoon at the time that was allowed into Fallujah, unless there was like QRF or something going on. But
so you guys just rolling around paying people off?
Pretty much.
You just rolling around with bags of cash?
Yeah, they had to have like plans, development plans, and they couldn't just pay them off. But I mean, these guys would give them a duffel bag full of USD. I mean, I couldn't imagine. Probably in the 7 months I was there, they probably paid off, I don't know, millions. It had to be millions. The amount of money that they were handing out
all in cash.
All in cash.
You know what's crazy? How much American crisp $100 bills we would find, like in car doors.
Oh, yeah.
like just printed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where did this come from? I've never even seen this amount and this clean of money. How
you
does
know,
this
like an
motherfucker
E3 doesn't have this shit. So like, where are you getting it? But yeah, we would be paying people off, and we went to Fallujah. We were in was it? I went all the way to Baghdad, even on that trip. We drove all the way from Fallujah to Baghdad.
Gross.
To do things. I mean, it was crazy, but
did you hit Haditha area at all?
I did go there a little bit, not like where the prison was, but we kind of like the outskirts. But yeah, we were getting RKG3s. Do you know what those are? So it looked like a drumstick grenade that the Germans used to have in World War II.
Oh, really?
It had a parachute on it, and it would float down to the target, and it had a shape charge, and it would go right through anything.
Really?
We're getting those thrown at us. A lot of sniper fire, but the snipers, they were really good, and they wouldn't attack too much while you're driving around or doing your patrols. They would attack the bases. Like this one kid, he was putting sea wire up on top of a brick wall, and they shot him 3 times before they hit the ground.
Damn.
I'm like, that's a good sniper.
Yep.
Like, think about, like, you're hunting. You can't shoot 3 times before the target hits the ground, like, wild. I mean, and they were making big IEDs. I mean, it wasn't like jugs of pneumonia or whatever they're putting out fertilizer.
It was an anti-tank mine?
What they were doing was they were taking the culverts under the roads and making them into giant pipe bombs. And I saw a 6x MRAP go 8 feet off the ground. I mean, it was impressive. Wild. Yeah, it was wild. And but I mean that's what it was. It was just wild.
Life.
There was this one kid. We were in a local engagement meeting with these civilians, and I was on outer security. Mm-hmm. We had this one kid, Donahue, who literally.
I think every platoon has a Donahue.
Probably. It's like the most common redneck last name ever. They're probably all related too. He literally was like, "Hey, I'll swap out with somebody." He was in the driver's seat. We borrowed him from the 81's platoon because we needed an extra driver that day.
Yeah.
And so we're like, "Cool, like swap out with so and so, and he can get a break, get some water. It's fucking hot outside." And dude, this kid was out there for 4 minutes, 5 minutes, somewhere around there. He's standing right next to me, and a round just snap. And I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, and you know what a round sounds like at that point because you go to the rifle range, you're getting shot at right over your head. And the only reason why the Marine Corps doesn't fully switch to automation. But anyways, I was like, that was a round, and I'm like, I'm in the alleyway now, like, oh shit. And dude, we went to throw a smoke. Like somebody threw a smoke, and it turned out to be like a thermite grenade, and it landed in this trash can and just like just
explodes, burns everything.
Dude, it smelled so horrible, bad, dude. Horrible. Like it had to be like their shit pot or something, bro. It was horrible, but it created enough smoke, and there was no more shooting. This kid Donahue, man, like his tricep just like fully open, just pulled open. And we get him into the truck, we're like we have these civilians in the building. We're like we got to go. We run inside. We're like, hey, we need to do a medevac. Your asses are coming. And they're like, what? Like, this is the first time something bad happened. Yeah. And so we're like, literally like, say goodbye. Like, and we're leaving. And they didn't finish their meeting. We get this kid.
Oh, the security that you guys are doing.
The guys we're providing security for, we had to get them out of there because we needed to do a medevac. And so we're driving. We got Donahue in the back of my truck, and Doc is like, I need to give him morphine. And this kid freaked out over this little shot. And I was like, dude, like half your arms gone.
Arms hanging off.
And he's like, oh, don't give it to me. It's gonna hurt. And we had to hold him down and they gave him the morphine.
For a morphine shot.
Yeah, dude, he freaked out. But he kind of like came down a little bit, and we got him out of there. And he was like really the only casualty that we had from my platoon on that one. We get back to 29 Palms, and this kid is finally coming back to 29 Palms, and I don't know if you've met like a lot of guys who just only got like a single gunshot and spent their whole deployment in Germany, but this dude looked like he went to McDonald's every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Really?
He was so overweight, like his belly was hanging out of his uniform.
Oh, so he just, once he got shot, they shipped him to Germany, and that's where he just stayed?
He stayed there the whole time.
Just living life.
Yeah. I was like,
you're like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, dude. But like, now if that happened to me, I'd be like, yeah, I'm staying in Germany.
I'm gonna be on Meal Team 6.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So you get back, and how long? Because dude, I feel like you have so many deployments. So how quick was it?
Well, I was in Iraq 07, 08, and 09.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And then Afghan
10 and 11. So when I got back to the States from my second deployment, it was time for me to reenlist or get fapped out and go on my way. And I was like, I've seen some things, but I didn't have that, like, I defended my country. I didn't get to that point of, like, I joined the Marine Corps because I wanted to be a Marine, but then 9/11 happened and I wanted to get some. And so everyone knew that 3-5 at the time was going to Afghanistan, but nobody knew where.
Yep.
And everyone's like, if you want to go and get some, go to 3-5. So we had the monitors come, the guys that, like, basically build the Marine Corps on what they see.
Where the numbers are, they're monitoring how many MOSs,
right?
Like how many people they have, all that good stuff.
So the monitor for me was at the time, I think he was a gunny, maybe senior staff Carlisle. He got out of his first sergeant with 2 Purple Hearts, and then he passed away a few years ago on a motorcycle accident. Probably the biggest Marine I've ever seen in my life. Like, this guy was assembled in the Marine Corps. This guy was just massive, and he was also a drill instructor. He had that like I'm gonna eat you look, but he was very, very humble, and he essentially built 3-5 because he was the monitor, and he went to 3-5. I think it was Kilo Companies. So
he built his team.
He built the battalion. So I was like, I want to go to 3-5, and he's sitting there like, you want to go to Afghanistan, don't you? And I was like, yes, I do. He's like, careful what you wish for. I'll extend you. And I was like, done. Sign me up. So we do the paperwork and whatever he does, and then so I tell, like, my command, like, hey, I went to the monitors. I signed paperwork. I'm going to be re-enlisting, and I'm going to 3-5. And all of my staff and above are like,
good luck.
Yeah, like, are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, 100%. Like, I'm a Marine. I'm a machine gunner. This is where I belong.
Yeah.
So time goes by. I finally get my orders. I'm after leave, and I check into 3-5, bro. And I was a corporal. I was a corporal when I checked in. My first experience, I'm still in Alphas. My first experience of 3-5 is Sergeant Major Bushway. I'm literally at the door of S1, the admin shop, to check in. And this guy comes out of his office, and he goes, you, get out of the Marine Corps while you can. And he lays on the ground, and he's kicking and screaming. He's like, get out of the Marine Corps. It's all going to shit. The battalion commander opens the door. He's like, Sergeant Major, like, knock it off. And he goes, fuck you, sir. And I was like, I'm in the wrong place. I don't know what I'm doing here. Well, this is like when they repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, apparently. Oh. And he was like, he just lost his shit. But after I was checking in, some of the Marines that have been in the unit for a while, like, hey, Sergeant Major Bushway, he's a little crazy. I'm like, what do you mean he's crazy? He's like, well, he was in like 2 Amtraks and a helicopter crash, and he was the only survivor. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, it all makes sense. Like, I was okay with that. Like, okay, I got it. He's all right. Soul dog.
Cut the guy a break. Yeah. All right. I would be like that too. Yeah.
I mean, like, we'd be doing, unit training. This guy wouldn't carry a rifle. He just had his pistol. And he literally was like, I can't remember if it was a battalion commander or some officer asked him, you're like, where's your rifle, Sergeant Major? He's like, oh, there'll be plenty of them laying around when we get there. And I was like, geez, like,
oh my God.
Yikes.
I changed my mind. So you go through workups.
Yeah.
And you're getting ready to go. You guys get the word you're going to Afghan. Obviously you're excited at that point.
So we're told we're not only going to Afghanistan, we're going to Sangin.
Which is at the
time I was like, I didn't know what that was. So we're all kind of doing like classes on, especially as NCOs. We're like trying to learn about where we're going with the
learn
officers.
The terrain, learn the people, the language, all that.
Come to find out, the British have been there for 10 years or whatever it was at the point, and they lost a lot of guys. I mean, this is even where what's his name, Prince Harry, went and got in trouble for going and fighting.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is the same area that like the British have been going and reaching out and touching the enemy.
Got it.
On a daily basis. So then, like, in the back of my mind, I was like, like, okay, like I asked for this. This is where I'm going. So we finally, I went Advon.
So Advon meaning you went ahead?
In the advanced party, a month ahead. And the reason being, so when I first got to 3-5 Weapons Company, they kind of were already established with their platoons, so I took over the headquarters platoon.
Okay.
And then once we found out we were going to Sangin, the master sergeant of weapons company got sent to the embedded team for the deployment. So I also took over his roles as the weapons company ops chief as a corporal. So when I went to Afghanistan, they were like, hey, you're going to be signing for trucks and weapons. And I was like, absolutely not. That's the executive officer is going to be doing that. I'll just pretend I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So, but I was doing the
as a corporal.
As a corporal. That's why I deployed Advon.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So then you get there, then the rest of the unit shows up.
So we get there, and we did a heavy rip, which means you're taking everything with you that you're supposed to have for 7 months on one aircraft.
Yep.
I mean, you can't see the other guy in front of you because it's stacked with all your sea bags and everything. And I'm probably 2 or 3 guys away from the right door gunner, and we're coming into Sangin from Camp Leatherneck. And this dude just starts ripping on the machine gun. I have no idea if the other guy's shooting because I can't see or hear.
Yep.
But he just starts shooting. I'm like, so we all of us in a line simultaneously lock and load. We're like, we're landing under fire. This is it. And
which a combat landing is wild. Did they just dive for you guys, or did you guys come in kind of?
We came in kind of diving, but it was fast. Like usually you
know
feel,
you're coming in.
I mean, you know you're landing. Dude, so we come in, we land, the door drops, the crew chief's like, get the fuck out of my aircraft. Dude, we run out, bro. Run out. Like, this is it. I was like, dude, I'm thinking like the Tet Offensive kind of thing is going on. I get out of the aircraft, and I'm like, what is going on? Dude, there's Marines laughing at us. There's just people like smoking and joking.
Oh, they were messing with you guys?
Well, I mean, they were actually shooting because they're getting shot at, but like, they're like, it's an everyday occurrence for these guys here. So we're all like ready to go, and they're just like chilling, bro.
Smoking.
Like when Crocs first came out, everyone's wearing Crocs, and like, dude, the British guys are just walking around with like literally like Speedos, and there's girls in bikinis there.
You're like, yes, finally.
I was like, what is
happening?
happening?
Head around this.
Yeah, so I guess the British, they had like these chicks with them. They had their own shower, but it was the same like. They were okay with this. This was a British thing. I was like, okay, this is what we do. The British mortar team looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. These guys were
juiced out of their mind.
Oh yeah, dude, they had a whole like quad-con little square box full of drugs, 100%. But like, that was my first experience of Sangin.
Yeah.
This place I knew that was going to be extremely bad, and I come out of a helicopter ready to fight, and everyone's laughing.
You're like, okay. You're like, I don't know what to think right now.
I didn't, and then so that we get the bird unloaded, it takes off, and like now I'm really like seeing what's going on, and there's rows of trucks blown up. There's part of an aircraft that's blown up, and I'm like, what are those? And they're like, oh, that's like the past couple of weeks.
Last week.
I was like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, just wait till tonight, and I'm like, okay. So
you're like, wait for what for tonight?
Dude, exactly. So everyone who lived at this base, they all had like their hardened structures.
Yeah.
New guys like me, we got to sleep in this like tent Quonset hut thing in the middle
with like
it had like the
HESCO barriers around them.
Dude, not even. Well, we're inside the HESCO barrier, but it's just a tent with like the aluminum framing in it. And I was like,
here we go.
Yeah. So I picked my cot, and I'm literally like 4 or 5 cots away from the battalion XO. I can't remember his name. And then sitting across the aisle from him. So he's kind of like at an angle with me.
Corner to you.
And we've been there, I don't know, 8 hours. And the sun's starting to go down. And we're all just chilling. Didn't really know what to expect. Nobody's really talking. And all of a sudden we hear, snap, tink, huh. And I look over, and the battalion XO is reading like a book or a magazine. This round came flying through the tent, hit the aluminum tent thing that was holding it up, and then landed right on his chest. The bullet just landed right on his chest. And he was like, huh. And I'm just like.
You're like, I want to go home.
Dude. And then, like, I want to say maybe a couple hours later, like, all hell broke loose.
With just small
arms fire.
Mortars.
Dude, and they took all of the 81s and gave us 120. Well, I was still doing a rip, so the guys were shooting the 120s. I think it was 2.7
Okay.
It was partially there. They're helping move the British out so 3-5 can come in and take over completely.
And 3-5, which is that the Dark Horse?
Yeah.
Okay, so which
Yeah.
the Dark Horse has a name.
Yeah.
Like you guys, and this is, I mean, you guys earned a lot of it on, I feel like, on this deployment too.
Right.
So.
And this is the first time that that I've been this close to 120s. I'm talking, they're shooting these mortars right outside the tent. I mean, it's like putting a baby in a barrel. I mean, that thing is huge.
It's a big round. I mean, and it doesn't matter where you're at. If you're within.
It's loud. And I wasn't expecting it. I thought when it went off, when they put it in the tube for the first time, I thought we got hit. 100%.
I believe it, yeah.
And I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
and then so all of us new guys were like gearing up, throwing our shit on, and I get to one of the roofs that the British guys are at, and they're just like wearing shorts and flip flops and no shirt, and they're just shooting. The crops are up, like the poppy fields are up and everything, and these guys are just shooting off the roof. I was like, what are you shooting at? They're like, just fucking shoot, man. And I was like,
here's a gun.
What? Yeah, and they were just dropping mortars. They were shooting tow missiles.
This is your first night?
My first night there, dude. It was just, I was just like, what is going on? And when I first got there, we had our tracer colors, and they had green. Yeah. So you could literally see the exchange of fire.
Oh, for sure.
Come
Which
nighttime.
is pretty wild.
It was wild, dude. It was like Star Wars.
That's wild.
And it was like that for almost 2 months before the Taliban started running out of those, and then it was just our stuff.
And was it like this every night?
It wasn't like that every night. It was a lot of nights. There's especially the little like patrol bases and stuff. Those guys were taking contact all the time when I first got there.
So your guys' base, was it in a valley? Was it?
So Sangin was kind of broken up. It had a little bit of everything. It had a little bit of jungle. It had a little bit of desert. It had a little bit of forest. And it had a little bit of semi-terrain, mountainous, desert-ish.
Okay.
It had it all.
Okay.
Most of it was pretty spread out. And we had our green zone and our brown zone, and it was pretty identified like that. And then you had your city that went through it.
And did the poppy fields come right up to your guys' base?
Right up to the base.
So they could just walk through these.
Yeah, they could walk. I mean, you could literally point straight down the first month or so I was there and start shooting at guys. Yeah.
How often did that happen? Were they coming right up to you guys?
Yeah, they were coming right up to the fob. Especially there was one patrol base. I mean, they would throw rocks over the wall with the interpreters' names and shit on it.
No.
And they're like, yeah, we were going to kill your whole family. I mean, that's how close they were getting. There was later on deployment when I found out, we went to the Hijaki Dam or whatever it was called. It was some dam. Okay. We went out there. The artillery unit that was supporting Sangin was out there. We get out there, and they had, you see your guns pointed up, right? Mm-hmm. But they had some that were pointed straight. And I was like, what's up with that? They're like, oh, we're using them as rifles. I was like, come again? Yeah, they're straight line of sight in those barrels on dudes down in their sectors of fire.
Out of howitzers.
Out of howitzers. I mean, that's how, any given day, we had HIMARS drop-ins, which was like 2,500-pound guided missile that would fire from Leatherneck to our AO. It was like 89 clicks or whatever in 3 minutes on a 10-digit grid. We had those. We had every fixed wing and rotary ring on station. I mean, you could pick up the radio and be like, hey, I need help, and they would do it. Just hellfire. I mean, there was no...
dude.
We had ROEs, but they went out the window real quick. So when I got there, when you got up and you looked out into Sangin, every building had this white flag on it. And I was like, what's with the white flag? And they said, well, that's either a Taliban position or a supporter. Really? I was like, that's the whole city. And they're like, yeah, we got...
So they were flying these flags to rep,
like, we're here, we ain't leaving. Because the British would go out, they would take contact, they would shoot, and then they would break.
Come back.
Right, that they didn't really
push
through the contact and fire maneuver like we did. So when the Marines took over and when 2-7 started doing it, the fight really was taken to the Taliban quick. And then when 3-5 got there, we took the whole AO, which should have been divided up to like 3 battalions when it gave us 1 battalion to take it out.
Was this correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you guys end up taking over like an army unit like Restrepo, or is that a different?
No, that's a whole different thing. Yeah.
That was a whole different deployment?
Yeah, it was a whole different time period, I believe.
God bless. Yeah. But, dude, so you guys are just I mean, so what were patrols like when you guys were leaving? I mean, are you mounted or you?
So when I first got there, I was at headquarters, platoon sergeant, right? So I was there doing all that for a month, and I was doing some fighting from the base, and then there was a couple of times when I got to go out with the British and 2-7, and I went on patrols with them, and then the main element came.
So your whole unit isn't even here yet.
No.
Wait.
Yeah, I'm there for a month with like a handful of guys from my unit, and then was like the battalion XO, my company XO. I think the company guns was there, and some like, dude, it was like just a small company element that we landed with.
You guys are in it almost every day.
Almost every day.
And
Dude,
are you
they
guys
shot an
back?
RPG right over the base into one of the hard structures, and the fucking British were sunbathing up there, and they took a bunch of casualties the first couple of days I was there.
And are you guys calling back to your unit like, hey, get ready?
Well, we can't. Like, I don't have a cell phone or anything, but like,
You guys didn't have sat phone or anything there?
I mean, we had sat phone, but I don't remember calling out or anything like that. But
damn, so your unit shows up.
they show up.
And then is that when all like hell breaks loose? Because now, obviously, the Marines are there.
Right.
It's a different fighting tactic than the Taliban's used to. They're used to British pulling it, break contact.
Yeah. And the Taliban, they were smart.
I mean, they've been fighting for thousands of years.
You would be out there, and you would see them trying doing the same maneuvers we were, trying to outflank each other and things like that, and fire maneuver and everything. It was crazy. It was a well-armed military type Taliban there. It wasn't like the gangster type scumbags that you think of when you're fighting a war. Like these guys, these guys were good.
I feel like that was the biggest difference from just watching both wars and learning, and is that the Iraqis would spray and pray, shoot and scoot. The Taliban they'll stand toe to toe and fight you.
100%. Yeah, and Sangin was like their version of Camp Pendleton. Like that it was theirs.
Yeah.
So we went and took it from them.
Damn, when you put it like that, I mean.
Yeah.
There was some fighting going on.
Every day. So my guys came in, and they started doing maneuvers immediately. I mean, they got their gear, they got their missions, they pushed out to where they needed to be. These 4 guys, Kane, Roadwald, Vintage, and Dew, passed away the first 2 weeks in country.
Damn, bro, what was that like?
And it wasn't our first casualties. Lance Corporal Sparks, I believe, was the first casualty.
How long were you?
He was only there for like maybe a week, and he got a sucking chest wound.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he gets hit within a week of being there.
And then we lose all these guys
right
within the first 2 weeks. And
I mean, what's that like? What's that do for the morale in the platoon? I mean, how many of your guys were war fighters from Iraq that came over? Did you know any of them, or were they all boot?
Not many of them, because when I came to the unit, it was just me from 1-7 that I know of.
No shit.
Yeah. So
were they all kind of were you like troop heavy, Lance Corps?
There were some guys who went to Iraq, but most of the guys
pretty green,
and
so they're thrown right into it.
So then these guys pass. I remember being in the COC and hearing like, "Hey, we have 4 heroes," and everything stopped. Like everything stopped, and to get these guys out. Yeah, that was like one of the most humble things of the time. Is anytime we got somebody that was became a hero, was killed, like everything stopped to get them out, or everyone figured out how to get that individual out so that they can be sent home to their family. So it happens, and then this platoon comes back, Hitman, which is the platoon code, or Cat 1, and the platoon sergeant comes over, and Staff Sergeant Hernandez. I'll never forget this the rest of my life. He goes, "Hey, Mags, I need you to keep your promise," because I made him a promise in CAX or Mojave Viper, the workup to go to the deployment. I said, "I promise you, when you need me there, I'll be there. Whatever it is, I'll be there." Because everyone knew, like, I went to Iraq, I was with 1-7, and they knew I was, a cool dude, but they didn't know a bunch about me, or my experiences or whatever. So he came with me all choked up.
And this is your staff NCO?
Well, he's about to be, because I'm going to transfer to his platoon immediately.
Okay.
Because they come back that night, and he goes, "I need you to keep your promise. I need you to come to my platoon and take over Truck 1, the one that got hit, and be a vehicle commander for that section." I said, whatever you need, I'm there. I grabbed my gear, I grabbed my rifle, and I was no longer headquarters platoon sergeant. I walked over to Hitman Actual. I said, I'm with you now, sir. And he goes, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. So I went and told the guys, I mean, whenever you lose somebody, whether it's family or Marines or whatever, you're choked up. And these guys were never dealt with anything in their life, you know, and they're crying and stuff like this. And I gather them up, and it makes me feel sick trying to say this, but I told them, I said, you have 5 minutes to get this shit out of 5 minutes. I'm going to come back in 5 minutes, and we got to get ready to go again. Once I said that, they kind of like snapped out of it, like, who's this asshole? And I walked away and I puked my fucking brains out.
Really?
Yeah. I puked my brains. I had to go pick out a truck that worked.
It wasn't blowing the shit.
Right. I had to get it ready to go.
And now you just took over another guy that just got killed.
Right.
And you have his whole entire team that now...
Now I don't have a driver or a gunner. Jesus. So then I had to pull our armory guy, who's now my driver, who ends up being probably the best driver I've ever had in the rest of my career. And then the kid who became my gunner, O'Toole, was supposed to be in the truck with these guys. But at the last minute before they stepped out from what they were doing, he went to another truck.
So they get ambushed, IED?
They got hit by an IED in a MAT V. And
killed in a MAT V, huh?
Yeah. So there's actually Oshkosh came out to look at the MAT V. Which is a whole nother story because I had to go through that MAT V and get their personal belongings and everything out of it. And
what was that like?
That was miserable, bro. Miserable.
I mean, were they just soup inside of there or what?
No, they were pretty. I mean, I didn't see them, but I mean, there was some blood in there. There was the Krylon system that was everywhere. That purple powder
shit that goes
the
everywhere.
The floor was fucked. And I went through and I had to grab all the anything personal to them. I grabbed. So all the magazines, the metal ones were destroyed, but the P mags were all good. So I handed those back out to the Marines. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, the metal mags, the rounds shot out everywhere, and it was kind of emptied, but the P mags were still solid. So we cleaned them up and handed out to the Marines. Them. Yeah, but what happened with the MAT V, on the V hole on the bottom where the exhaust comes out, there's probably a 5-inch gap at the time. There was a 5-inch gap so that it didn't heat up or vibrate on the V-hole. So that IED actually hit right there on that exhaust port, which, if you know explosives, it went into the V-hole, which turned into a shape charge,
everything out.
Which lifted the floorboard, slammed it up, and killed them all instantly. And the gunner, Roadwald, was ejected out, and they found him probably like 100 meters away.
Alive or dead?
They were all gone instantly.
The whole truck?
The whole truck. All of them.
Damn.
It was all quick and peaceful for them. Yeah.
So, I mean, what does that do to your psyche that, I mean, this is such the most military shit when, I mean, just watch 4 dudes die. They bring the vehicle back, body bag them up. You got to go get all their belongings, personal belongings. And then it's like, hey, you're in charge now. This is your new team. Like, get them ready. You're back in the fight. Like, how do you cope with that, or how do you even deal with it? Because I
puked, like I said, but it was just kind of like, I don't have a choice. Like, these guys don't have a choice. Like, we're here together. Just put it in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
And then from there on, it was just every day there was somebody hit or killed.
God damn.
Every single day. And then finally, I was able to call home finally. And the only place that I can get signal with this sat phone was on top of the building, on top of a milk crate with the fucking antenna extended.
I remember those days.
Bro, this Iridium phone, it was garbage, but it was like the one thing I've been looking forward to forever. I called my wife, and I was like, hey, honey, how you doing, or whatever. And I think I was on the phone maybe like a minute or two, and all of a sudden, they start shooting at the guy on top of a milk crate with the Iridium phone. So I dropped the phone, didn't hang up, had to low crawl off the roof, and then we handled business and then come back and like the phone, hung up or whatever. I wasn't able to call home for like 2 to 3 months.
No.
So she had my cousin. She got in contact with my cousin, who was the Marine I wanted to join because of him, and had him check all the kill rosters and stuff and be like, he's not on it. He's okay. He just probably can't call.
Yeah.
But we went so long without being able to contact anybody because we were River City, which is because
you're taking casualties every day.
Casualties. I mean, every
How many guys did you end up losing?
25 Marines were killed, and then we had almost 400 wounded. Yeah. But as a battalion, we got ours. We had like 3,000 confirmed enemy KIA and over 6,000 unconfirmed in 7 months.
You guys fucked a lot of dudes up.
It was insane. It was absolutely insane. I mean, and those white flags just started dropping. I mean, once we got there and we started actually sweeping and moving through Sangin systematically.
So you weren't fighting mountains, you're fighting cities, so you're urban?
Yeah, we were urban, we were desert, we were...
everything, wherever these guys were?
Wherever they were, we went and just pushed their shit in. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I watched a guy... These guys were embedded, right, on a river.
Yeah, this is a story. Okay, this is what I want to hear. I like these stories.
And they were in a fight, and dude, they were like dug in like Vietnam style,
yeah.
Right? And so what they had to do with the 120s was do like delayed impact airburst. So like they had to slam them in the ground, then explode, and it wasn't doing. I mean, it had good effects on target, but then the like platoon commander was like, "This, we need to do something else." So he called in HIMARS.
What's a HIMAR?
It was a 2,500-pound guided missile. They dropped a fucking 11 of them on this one target. And this was kind of like in the beginning of everything when I like first like month or so I was there. And I remember, dude, I was up on binos. I was like, I've never seen a HIMARS before. This is fucking incredible. Like the amount of firepower that this thing brings. I mean, you could feel the fireball heat from it, and I was maybe 200 to 400 yards away, somewhere around there. I mean, the ground would just shake like in the World War II movies, and it was just incredible. But I saw this guy just running. He's like, he gave up. He's like, I don't want to fight anymore, kind of thing, right? And he's just running out of the tree line, but has no idea that HIMARS are about to drop.
It's 11 of them.
Dude, this fucking thing hit, and this guy went in the air like double overhead of tree canopy and just looked like a rag doll. And then I never saw him hit the ground because they just kept slamming.
Really?
Just disappeared. I mean, I remember watching him just like flailing around, and then I never saw him hit the ground. I was just like, wow. You know, like
God, it was being American.
Yeah, and I mean, we were dropping those
daily.
How
many tons of ordnance do you think you guys called in?
I mean, ungodly amount. I mean, just alone, like I couldn't even imagine.
You guys ended up going combat ineffective at some point, didn't you?
Yeah, towards like the end of
3/4 of the way through. So this is a crazy story. We've this is funny us sitting down talking because we've like overlapped same areas and stuff. So I was up at 1st Marine Division at the time as the color sergeant, and they put a thing out. They were looking for volunteers to go be combat replacements on your guys' deployment. And then my buddy I was with, he was like, dude, let's go. And I'm like, fuck, you want to? And he's like, let's do it. He's like, dude, we miss workups. We skipped a whole deployment. He's like, dude, they got like a couple months left and we'll get combat action for Afghan. And this dude had like Silver Star. He's got like 3 NAMs with Bronze Star. Like, you know, he'd live for this shit, you know? I should actually have him on the podcast. But I was like, fuck it, dude, let's do it. Like, I'm in. I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? So I had to go up to Sergeant Major Carter at the time and General Waldhauser because I worked directly for the brass. And I told it because I was representing the 1st Mardiv, and I was like, hey, I want to go to Afghan and finish out this deployment. Yeah. And I was like, is that okay? And they're like, we'll never stop you. Like, go ahead. So we ended up jumping in the vehicle in my buddy's truck, and on the way over there in Mainside, we went and got breakfast burritos. I was like, yo, let's grab they had those chorizo breakfast burritos that were so good at the time. It cost like $3. Yeah. And we grabbed those when we got in line, and we're sitting there eating our burritos while all these dudes are just walking up and signing a book. You'd give them your ID, and they'd write your name and social down and all that shit. And they're like, all right, like, we'll contact you. Yeah. The dude in front of my boy signed it, like, all right, that's all we need. And they closed the book. And and he looked at me, he's like, yeah. I was like, dude, it's a sign. I was like, it's a sign, bro. It's a sign. Like, take it. And then he's like, yeah, you're probably right. And then that's when, like, because when I was at division, one of my morning jobs was to report to General Waldhauser of all the wounded in action and killed in action and where all the IEDs were. I had to brief him every morning on it. And, dude, it was every day I was getting, what did we call it? I mean, it was an incident report, but there was a term for it. And I would open
Yellow Canary or something like that. No?
I'd print out these reports and I'd have to brief him every morning on them. But I was getting all of your guys's
It was
info.
It was wild, bro. It was like insane. IEDs were naturally growing out of the ground, and like.
And you never got hit, huh?
I got blown up, and yeah, I got blown up. I got shot. There's a weird story with this. So not a lot of people knew that I got shot on that deployment because I kept it quiet, and by
Where'd
keeping
you get shot
right here in the chest and right here on the side plate.
You got shot in the side plate?
Yeah, right in the corner. Right in the corner. So here's the crazy thing. I was like, I got to keep this quiet. Because, like, they won't let me out of the wire because, you know, if you get blown up and stuff, you have to wait, like, 12 hours. I was like, I'm not doing that to my guys. Fuck that. So I went to supply, and I was like, I need a new one.
Because there were ceramic sappy plates?
Yeah.
And they just shattered when you got shot.
I was like, I need some new ones. And they're like, okay. And they're serialized too, right?
Yeah. Oh, this is a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, and I would, as a head course platoon sergeant and acting ops chief, like, dude, I would talk to supply. I'd be like, I'd give them everything. I'd help these guys out because I knew one day I would need them. So they gave me a full suite.
Really?
Come to find out, towards the end of deployment, so this is a crazy story. Lieutenant Kelly was killed in action, which is General Kelly's son, who was the Secretary of Defense.
Yep.
He came out to Sangin because he was, I guess, I don't know the full story, but he was missing something from his son. Was like, where is it? Come to find out, these supply kids were selling, like, our wounded guys and stuff. And
shit. They were grave robbers.
Yeah. So I know one of them went to jail. I'm not sure about the rest of them, but
they were selling his son's shit.
Yeah, something like that. It was like a computer or something. I don't know what it was. I don't know, but it was so shady, dude. So shady.
Bro, the whole Marine Corps, I mean, I'm sure all the branches, but the most shadiest shit I've ever dealt with and done and been a part of was in the military.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy.
So you guys lost how many?
25.
25 guys and 400 something wounded?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just insane to me.
I mean, like one night, dude, we're doing this clearing up, bro. And I was the, if you will, the tip of the spear because I'm in a truck and I had a company on either side of me and I was going down this road and we're clearing this fucking city. I mean, all hell's breaking loose on both sides of me. And every night we had engineers at the back of this giant clearing up and they would come up and they'd build berms in front of my truck in like an L shape. So if we were shooting, like we had protection, not just like the MRAP. And this is a crazy story. So like one night, I would say like day like 2 or 3 of this op, big op, and
was it a named op?
Yeah, it's like Golden Shillelagh or some shit. I don't know.
Dude,
it's just like Operation Kill People. That's what it should have been. Like what the fuck? Like Operation Fudge Factory.
Yeah, right.
So I'm up there, the first truck, because I'm 1-1, which is first truck, first section.
Yep.
And to my left, there's this huge like open gap from the urban environment, if you will, like I don't know, maybe 300 yards long by like 400 or 500 yards deep.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a gentle slope to the river, and then there's some trees and stuff on the back end, and some shrubs throughout it. Can't really see 100% through it, but it's clear, right?
This is day or night?
This is nighttime.
Okay.
So we saw it during the day, and then I finally rolled up at night. So I'm on the far edge of it, and then the trucks are going back behind me, and there were like a herringbone split off on the road. And, dude, all hell breaks loose on the radio. And I'm like trying to listen, and they're like, hey, they're moving around. They're all over this open area. They'll come to find out they had like a fucking tunnel system in this shit.
Really?
Yeah, like trenches and shit like that. And like guys were seeing heads like move around.
Like, you guys have thermals or anything?
Yeah, but like people behind us they're seeing this, and I'm like, I can't see it from where my position is. And I was like, well, like light them up if you have to, right? Oh, but nobody's shooting at us. They were just moving around,
which is eerie.
So I'm like, I gotta get better eyes on. So I open the door and I look out, and I was like, I still can't fucking see, especially with those fucking shitty PVS 14s or whatever. And so then the radio goes up together. Hey, Max, like the building to your right, there's a dude in a trap door looking at you. And I was like, huh? Like, what? Like,
where?
Yeah, I'm looking at the building have my laser out. I'm like, where? And they're like right there on the corner. There's a trap door. He's fucking like, it's opening and closing, and he's looking at you. I was like, oh hell no, right? So I get to the back of my rap, and I'm just standing there waiting to see this guy because I'm gonna shoot him. I don't see him, but everyone else can. I'm like, well, whatever, maybe angles or something. I don't know. So, but I look back, and there's a like a bulldozer from the engineers, a couple trucks back. So I walk back there and I knock on the door, and this motherfucker is sleeping, just everything open. He's got a happy suit on, like just racked out. And I was like, hey, dude, like, sorry to wake you, but I need you to drop this building.
Hey, we're in the middle of a mission.
Yeah.
Like, wake up.
Yeah. I was like, I need you to drop this building. He was like, I can't do that. So I pulled my pistol. I put it right in his face.
No shit.
I said, either you fucking do it or I'm going to do it. Okay.
No shit.
I swear to God, dude. Put it right in his face. I said, you need to get the fucking thing moving, right? So he starts going.
You're not even in the mood at this point.
Dude, no, dude, I'm fucking tired
Especially some dude
shit.
that's sleeping in the back.
Yes.
Was it an armored dozer or was it all open?
Yeah, it was an armored dozer. Yeah. So he starts doing his thing, right? And he goes from one corner and just keeps going.
Yeah.
Just keeps going.
Chipping away at it.
And like you hear like a and that was it. Just kind of like a pussification of like just like and that's all I heard. I was like, cool, whatever. The attack never happened. We never got attacked that night. And so we come to find out because we had to push come like dawn or whatever. Mm-hmm. Guys behind us, they said they found the dude in the rubble, right?
Oh, no
and he had a radio. So he was like the commander or whatever, and fucking they never attacked because he never pushed out the order. And they were like, "Oh, good job, Mag," whatever, you know. And so like a month or so goes by, and we get the like Marine Corps Times or the Leatherneck magazine or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
This motherfucker is on the front cover, foot on his tire of his bulldozer. Lance Corporal Engineer saves entire op. Gets promoted and gets a NAM with a Combat V.
No.
Dude,
my platoon sleeping in his dozer?
Yes. And I had to fucking put my gun in his face to get him to do this shit. My platoon sergeant comes over, he's like, check this out, Mags. This fucking Pogue got all this shit and you didn't get anything.
This is the most Marine Corps shit ever.
Dude, I was so mad, bro. Like, it was like somebody killed my dog. Man, I was furious. It was, but like looking back, like it was so funny.
Oh my God.
What are the chances that like some combat camera group is at the back end of this op and they heard about it and they interviewed this kid? I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me?
He's sleeping, passed out, gear
out,
all
bro.
opened up.
Racked out.
Hilarious. I mean, you can't, dude. Every time we'd stopped, I'd freaking park, lock the brake. I was out. I mean, they'd be screaming at me over the radio to get. Here's a crazy story. Speaking of sleeping, we're in the middle of bronze, mobile, uranium, whichever one. It was which was the one that came out of Al Assad? You went on the road, then you hit a right out of sight of Al Assad, whatever main road that was. Yeah. Anyways, we're on our way back, and I'm the last vehicle, and it was the stop and go IED. Yeah. Oh, I found an IED. Oh, I found an IED. I found an IED. And every time we would find it, we would just stop. Everybody just pass out. You knew it was going to be like hours. You're like, oh, it's not an IED. We're like, no shit, it's not an IED. Just drive around the damn thing. Yeah. Anyways, I'm in the turret. And the hatch, you know, the hatches on the Amtrak, they fold back, and it's like a big bowl. So if you get your sappy plates just right in it, and it holds your head up, and
Amtrackers,
you could just pass out all day, right? So I pass out, and I look at my crewman, and I was like, "Hey, you got it?" And he's like, "Yeah," because he's in the driver's seat, and my lieutenant is in the troop commander behind the driver, and he's like, he passed out. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get some sleep." Middle of the day, I wait. It was one of these like, and I look. There's nobody around.
Oh shit.
The whole fucking platoon on this convoy rogered up and rolled out. And we're the last vehicle. And I look over, and here's my driver. Calm helmets all twisted. I look at my lieutenant. I was like, "Sir," I'm like, "get your ass up." And he wakes up. We were freaking out. And I was like, "Do we radio?" He's like, "Shut your mouth, man. Shut your mouth." And he hits our driver, and he's like, "Floor it, Brinkman." Was my driver. He's like, "Floor it, Brinkman." And we drove for like 45 minutes, fourth or fifth gear lockout. The fastest this tank will go, screaming down this highway for 40 minutes until we see these clouds going through the desert. I'm like, there they are, sir. And he's like, we're just, turbo screaming through the road wide. And you can see where the tanks left the tank track. We're like, left, Brinkman, left. And we like drift through this corner, bomb out to the desert, get back on the road and drove. And we just pulled right back up in the column. We were like nothing ever happened. My lieutenant comes over the intercom. He's like, if you say anything, I swear to God, I'll fucking NJP you, Bam. I was like, I ain't saying shit, sir. And I was like, I'm not getting my ass chewed.
This is the most Bam story ever.
Oh, dude.
Of course you were sleeping.
Passed out. He was screaming at me one time. I mean, you know how it is, Dan. Yeah. Dude, you'll go for days. And like when you're in those vehicles and you got the engine going and it's humming, it is, I was that guy. I can't ever knock anybody. I always hear these stories. The dudes are like, oh, this guy fell asleep. I was always that dude that I slept everywhere.
I passed out in Afghanistan. We were fucking the same op. We were on the road. Yeah. I was awake for like 2-3 days straight.
Straight. Just adrenaline peak, dump.
Oh, there's another story I got on the same op. But I told my guys, I was like, I gotta close my eyes. Like I can't even look at the reports that I'm supposed to give up because I would write them on the window and shit like that.
Yeah.
I was like, everything's blurring together. I wake up and, dude, I don't know how long they let me sleep for, but it was nice.
Oh, I bet.
But the bad part was I came to and I'm like, where the fuck am I, dude? Like, I don't know. I've never seen this part of the country before. Like, where are we on the map? Show me.
Drove halfway across. Yeah. Dude, the military is wild, man. But we'll probably get wrapping it up here. I'm sure we could talk stories all day. Oh, yeah. I like to try to end with if you had any advice. Mm-hmm. You've been through a lot of shit, man. I mean, how many deployments total?
3 deployments, yeah.
3 combat deployments.
And then a couple times to Japan and some other places.
Yeah, so you got to do some cool stuff. Yeah. We can't even. Well, we'll save some stories for the executive because you did some pretty executive people security.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna save that for round 2. But if you had anything you could say, any advice for any guys that are looking to join the military, any veterans that are out there that have gone through some shit, because obviously you have. I mean, you're a part of the Dark Horse. That's a pretty decorated battalion in the Marine Corps. I mean, is there anything you'd like to? I know I kind of catch everybody off guard, but if there's any advice for it, man, what would you like to share?
Follow your heart, man. Clear your mind, and your ass will follow.
Yeah.
You know, if you're thinking about going, then join. You know, and then like whatever you want to do in life, find out where that's at in the military and excel at it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, not everybody wants to be in the infantry.
Yep.
That's the number one thing that most people think of when they think of the military. But the military's got everything you can do in the world.
Mm-hmm. We're pretty cool shit.
Yeah. I mean, you can be, public affairs officer, things like that. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So just do it.
Yep.
You know, serving your country is probably the best thing you could do in your own personal life. You know what I mean?
Would you do it again?
Absolutely.
Knowing everything we know now?
Absolutely.
I would too.
I would probably do things a little bit differently.
I would too.
But I would still be a Marine.
100. Oh, I wouldn't join.
I would still be in the infantry, and I would have told a little bit more people to fuck off. But, yeah, without a doubt, man. And then people getting out, like, listen. You go to those. What do you call it? Seps and taps or whatever, if they still call it that.
They've changed the name so many times.
If you're doing those separation classes, like, actually talk and listen to those people. When I went to those classes, I was like, I do not want to be here. I was like, what does this civilian know? But, like, being in the military just gets your foot in the door with a lot of things.
Opens up a lot of doors.
Yeah, so just be humble. You know, your experiences of 03 Schmuckatelli is not going to matter in the real world. Just put that aside and just be yourself, you know.
Yep.
And lean on everyone else. I mean, you're not the only one who got out of the military, or you're not the only one who's going to join the military. Thousands of other people, men, women, have gone through the same thing.
Yep.
You know, just ask for help. That's another one. Ask for help. Don't do it alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate you coming on, man. And you got some cool adventures ahead of you and some new career changes. And we'll let you get settled in, and we'll have you back on, and we'll see if you can pull me over out on the roads here. And
probably next year. Be looking for tundras.
You ain't gonna catch me. I'll tell you that much. I've still got a 100% success rate on dodging you sons of bitches. All right, dude. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely, man.